Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Everything F1's live vodcast, hopefully on Everything F1's page. We did go live about 5-10 minutes ago in an airshow page, which was a bit of a funny crossover. So welcome, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Say hi in the comments. We'll try and say hi and do a few name drops on the way through the evening. So please say hi and drop us any questions down there as well. Today we've got me, James Tiller. We've also got down below, we've got the Sponge. Say hi, Sponge.
Hello, everybody.
We've got Coops in the bottom corner. Hi, Coops.
Hello.
Hello. And we've got Gary too, who likes to publish us into airshow groups. Hi, Gary.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It was fun. At least the airshow group will have some interesting content this evening. Anyway, so we're here tonight to talk to you about the Sakhir Grand Prix, how it went this weekend, any latest breaking news that might have come up over the last few days, and of course a preview, a look forward to the weekend in Abu Dhabi. So thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, if we do miss anything that you want us to talk about, please drop that into the comments. That would be great. So I think the first thing that we'll talk about is the breaking news since the weekend. The biggest piece of news that we've had today, I don't know if it's a big piece of news, but it was a bit of controversial news, was about Mazepan. Can we have a brief description or brief idea of what happened? Coops, maybe tell us a bit about how it broke today.
Well, so a video appeared on his Instagram story feed, apparently of him, unidentified woman, and the driver of the car. I think it's the UAE or something. And what's apparently happened, well, not apparently, but what's on the video is you can see Mazepan, or who we think is Mazepan, groping a woman's breast. And initially, it looked as if it was unwanted. So,
Right.
Of course, the video got posted on his Instagram. Haas F1 and they announced it was screenshotted and, it was saved and put all over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Haas have came out with a pretty strong statement. Mazepan has came out and apologised. And also, the woman that was in the video has also came out and actually kind of played it down.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Basically, she said, "Look, we're friends. We were having a laugh, and it kind of was a bit of a personal thing between us." She posted it on there as a bit of a fun, and it's kind of blown out of all proportion.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it has lit a bit of a torch.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
On the page, actually.
There are quite a few opinions about it. I mean, the opinions being obviously it's not great. It's abhorrent. Haas have come out and commented that they don't agree with what he's done. He doesn't represent the company when he's doing this, and there's quite a bit of traction going on social media about it. And now, obviously, about that statement that the lady has made, she's obviously retracted and said, "Oh, it's all her fault." Everyone in the comments has got their tinfoil hats on and saying, "Oh yeah, but surely that's the dad paying a nice couple of million to keep her quiet." I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Sponge? Have you seen the news story today about Mazepan?
I think if it is a case of being paid off, it will come out, because you can't, that kind of situation, you can't. If it's his friend, it's his friend,
yeah,
and it will be proved to be instantly that it's his friend.
Mm-hmm.
If it's some randomer that's claiming to be his friend, it will eventually come out. It will come out quickly that it was. I think the fact that Haas have put such a strong comment out proves that yes, it was definitely him.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, that statement wouldn't have happened. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's apologised as well, hasn't he? So he's claimed that he did it, and maybe he needs to be a little bit more sensible.
Yeah.
In the future. So
he's saying he should be better. He will be. He will learn. He's really sorry, and
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's him, it's actually him that's filmed him doing it in the first place. And then apparently the line wasn't the line from that woman that she then loaded it onto his Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
something like that.
That doesn't really make sense, does it? It's like if she had done that, it would have been from her camera, not his camera. So I don't know. It seems a bit weird.
Yeah, and it wasn't a comment on there, something like she's a game girl or something like that. Or yeah, it was. At the end of the day,
Write that about yourself.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great advert for Formula One, really. So that's why the team came down strong on it. And it's not a good advert for the team, obviously. Let's hope it all clears up and they don't have any more of these issues with him, because I mean he's been a controversial character for a while. I mean, and to be honest, what did he win 2 races this year in the F2?
I think that was mentioned in the comments. There's been 2 race wins. He's had run-ins.
Yeah.
There's things on Twitter about his conduct with fans and stuff like that. Again, that's kind of more gossip. We don't really want to go into that because that can open a can of worms.
Yeah.
There was a very famous or infamous incident with Callum Ilott, where Callum ended up with a black eye and a swollen jaw when they got into a bit of a physical altercation in the paddock.
Yeah.
And his driving can raise a few questions.
So do we think he's a worthwhile candidate for that Haas seat, or is it purely for the money that they're doing it?
Money's a big part of it. Money's always going to be a big part of it. Apparently, I found out that his dad is worth 3 times more than the Strolls, and the Strolls are worth $3.9 billion.
It's a lot of money going there. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but you've also got to balance it out to a point that for him to be even in contention, regardless of how much money's thrown at it, he needs to still get the super license points. So he still has to do something. There has to be a talent there. Whether he has the talent to be good in Formula One, we don't know. He's probably going to get a slightly more of a chance because he's got money. But I was thinking about this a lot today, actually, and what people forget, and I think Nikita needs to kind of, there's me first naming him as if I'm pals with him, but people need to understand, like, Lando Norris is from a very wealthy background.
Yeah.
But people don't look at Lando Norris as, he's a pay driver, because he's got talent undeniably. Plus, the other side of it is he's built up his own brand.
He's so down to earth in comparison, isn't he?
He's very down to earth. He understands himself. He understands his situations. He knows what he's got to do. And I think with Nikita Mazepin or Mazepin, however you pronounce it, he needs to get himself surrounded by very grounded.
We lost Coops.
Because if he's the big man,
okay.
He has to get very understand he's rookie.
Oh, I think we're having a bit of trouble with Coops. Sorry, I do apologise if we're having a bit of trouble with Coops. It's been a bit broken up. But what I think he's trying to say is obviously he's been a bit of a controversial character in comparison to lots of the newcomers, up and comers on the grid, which is it just doesn't paint him in a good light for the future.
So, yes, Nikita.
He comes across as quite immature.
Yeah.
And I think he needs to start.
Well, Daddy's bought him everything, hasn't he? He doesn't need to be mature because Daddy just buys what he needs him to.
Well, he's going to come down to earth with a bump in Formula One because even with a lot of money behind you, people are going to start losing patience. And he's got Gunther Steiner as his team principal. So.
I think he's gone from a case of you've got 2 pillocks on track and now you've got a new pillock off track as well.
Yep.
And he's not got the best on track record either. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
No, I mean he's
a decent
quick
driver.
He's quick, isn't he? But he's had run-ins with his stewards. He's had run-ins with other drivers. He's had run-ins with bands, like you say. So, like you say, I think he needs a guiding, an arm around.
He does. He needs somebody that's not scared to tell him. And I think this is a problem because he is so wealthy, and he knows that. And the people that he surrounds himself with, this is just an outside perception. It's people that are just like, oh yes, and no one's there to hold him accountable. He's now an adult in a very adult world in Formula One. He needs to hold himself accountable and be held accountable, and he has to show. This isn't. When you first saw the video without her comment, or the woman that was involved, sorry, when she came out and said, look, he's a close friend, he's a good guy, he wouldn't hurt me, humiliate me, it was just, and he has to a bit of fun. Now again, this isn't, I'm nearly 40, see the things that I got up to, there's no record of it, it's a very different age this day, everybody's got a camera now, you look the wrong way, it's on YouTube or something, and
yeah, it's all we were saying this earlier, it's also, everything's on social media now, isn't it? Anything you do, and then once it's there, it's how it's the context is how it's taken, isn't it? It's just like, it might have been his mate, and then she puts a statement out, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, but she was told to say that because yes,
yeah, for the PR,
they're still talking about it as if it was a sexual assault, even after she's come out and said, look, that it wasn't. It was a bit of fun. I've known him for a long time. Now, we aren't, and nobody collectively within Twitter or anywhere else in the world has any right to judge whether that's right or wrong. It will come out in the wash, and we can all go, told you so, but we have to take what she says at face value.
Yeah.
Because she came out and said it. Whether or not she's been given money or not, she says it, you have to go, right, okay. And if there's any more to it, it'll come out.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of take it at face value. He's now... I would be sure that he's been told that he could have lost his seat if he's not already in the throes of losing it.
Well, I did see. I saw a petition with about 20,000 signs.
Yeah, I saw that.
Signs already that had been posted since today. So it certainly caused a bit of a stir on social media. Anyway, let's move on because there's so much to talk about. And we haven't got lots of time. I just want to say hello to the people that have joined us as well. Hi, Crispin Hudd. Hi, Leon Salinas. Thanks for joining us today. Amanda Pearson.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Theodosis Corrales. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. But thank you very much for joining us this evening. If you've got any questions that you want us to chat about, by all means, let us know in the comments. Hi, Jo. Jo's in the comments there, and she'll be responding to some of you if we don't get the chance to do that while we are live as well. So let's move on to the race review then, because obviously that's the main thing that happened this weekend, and probably something that everybody wants to talk about. So let's talk about the race at in Bahrain, the Sakhir Grand Prix. So what
race? There was a race, was there?
There was a race where a young Brit was racing in another Brit's place. His name was George Russell. You might have heard of him. And he was racing for Mercedes in place of Lewis Hamilton. Now, how do we all think his race went? Sponge.
Perfectly.
Perfectly well.
Do you know what? I actually think the fact that he didn't end up winning has actually done him better. Personally, I think it's worked better for him than if he'd have won the race.
Do you think?
Because I think that many people now feel so sorry for him and actually want to see him back in that seat now.
Yeah.
Like they, including me.
Yeah.
I'm like, just tell Lewis that he can go and record a music track or something. Just go and just do that, and then George will take his place again, and hopefully he'll get that win. But I think he did. He didn't put a foot wrong at the end of the day.
No.
All through the weekend, he did not. He didn't put a tyre wrong at all.
Well,
I don't think that his audition for that seat could have gone any better.
Yeah, well, let's talk a bit about what actually happened for George in that race. Obviously, he took the first corner, took it away from Bottas, and kind of just zoomed off into the distance, really, making a nice 2-second gap, I think, by the end of the first couple of laps. What else happened for him, Coops, if you want to talk a bit about George Russell's race? What happened to him after the race as it unfolded?
Oh, the heartbreak. Well, he lost the victory of the race twice, effectively. For the first stint, he just disappeared. Bottas didn't show up. Instead of becoming Bottas 3.0, he became Bottas Vista again. And then, it was just as Sponge said, it was a faultless drive for him. And then it all went wrong when they decided to do a double stack after safety car. I think it was a safety car, wasn't it? It was. It was after Jack Aitken spun coming out the last corner.
Mm-hmm.
Who ironically is driving Russell's car. and lost the front wing. Initially, it was a virtual safety car, but because of how quick the track was, they couldn't get a gap big enough to allow the marshal to come out and take the bit of the wing that was sitting directly on the racing line.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to bring out the safety car. So the first two Mercedes cars had a big enough gap. They thought they'll go in for a safety stop. Didn't need to, but they decided to do it. So what happened was when the radio call got put through, they were double stacking. George's side of the garage didn't get the message. Valtteri Bottas's side of the garage did get the message, so they came out with the tyres. George was first in. The front two tyres were Valtteri Bottas's. The rear two were George's, as far as I understand it. He then left. Bottas came in. The guy in the front left as well looking at it, or the front right as well looking at it, front left of the car. They put the tyres on, then they went, no, they're not right, because I think they must be initialed or something. So they had to take those tyres off, put on Bottas's old hards, send him back out, that's stop for him, and then recall George back in, to then put the proper tyres back on, which then led to, that's why the Mercedes ended up with a $20,000 fine, I think it was, for breaking the rules, because he effectively used 14 sets rather than 13 sets in the race, which is a contravention of one of the rules in the sport.
Technical rule 104.1 A B D E 222 19
I think it was
subsection D.
Yeah, I think it's 23A or something, because Crofty's put it on, and I just remember it's 23A and 23 something. One of them is contravention that you can't use more than 13 sets. You use 14. And the other one basically says if you do use more, you could be disqualified. So for a couple of hours, it looked like
we thought he was going to lose his points. But obviously, one of the points I want to touch on is they didn't actually need to do the pit. Did they?
It was a safety stop.
Yeah, so
there was no need to do it.
Here's a question I want to ask you, and I'll ask Gary first.
Am I reaching for the tinfoil hat?
I know. Would Lewis Hamilton have pitted? Would he have said, no, do you know what? I don't want to risk it. Because he has been on the receiving end of some Mercedes poor luck and poor tyre management or whatever, pit stop or whatever it is in the past. Could he have possibly said, "Do you know what, guys? My tyres are fine. Bono, my tyres are fine. I'm not going to come in. I've got the lead. I'm going to be able to last until the end of the race on this." Would someone with a bit more authority have won that race?
I've got a great answer for that. Because if Lewis was driving the car, he would have been a couple of seconds ahead of where George Russell would have been, and he would have already passed the pits before the call came, so he wouldn't have stopped.
It was a very last second call, and the fact that the track was so short actually hurt Ricciardo in getting him into the pit and stuff as well, which we'll probably touch on later. But big shout out to J.R. Whitten, he's a regular. Hello, it's yourself. He's arrived in, but I don't know. It is a bit cautious. I don't know if Hamilton was in that position. I don't know. I mean, they're usually good at the double stack.
I'm surprised they took the risk with it though, because did Checo stop then to change tyres? Because he was behind them and he was on old tyres. So why would you stop the two with that risk when the guy directly behind you at the restart was on the same age tyres as you?
Well, I suppose there was no telling whether Checo would have done it because they were in front, I guess. So Checo could have done the opposite of what Hamilton done, kind of thing. What George Russell did, or whatever.
I just thought it was a weird why. I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, I just thought, why did they stop them? Just wreck the whole race for them. But
it was a massive F up, as Toto Wolff did say.
Colossal was the word they used.
Colossal F up. I won't swear. We'll try and keep the swearing to a minimum on this live vodcast.
Do you know how hard that is for a Scottish person?
It's like punctuation, is it, for Scottish?
It's already. I've got my button. It's all right. I got my button. Beep,
beep, beep, beep, beep, beep, beep, beep, beep. The fact that they did stop them made the race brilliant. The race was awesome. I mean, it was awesome between the two. Is Bottas going to come back? Look at George. He's just controlling it. Oh wow, this is really impressive. And then when that happened, it was a whole kind of, wow, the racing points are up there, the Renaults are up there. This is awesome. It was a really good race. I loved it.
And then George Russell done that overtake of the year on Bottas.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome.
I was like 3 cars. Oh,
there is one thing that you're missing as well with the Hamilton question.
Right, okay.
His tyres would have been shot 20 laps before that, so he'd have been in twice anyway.
He'd have been complaining.
He's getting good. He's getting good at the tyres now, isn't he? He doesn't go, Bono, my tyres are dead anymore. He likes to do the whole long stints these days. He's a good lad with the tyres.
So there is a question mark over George Russell and whether he's going to be here for next weekend in Abu Dhabi. Obviously,
we've had a question on that. I think
we have, and that's why I thought I'd touch on it while we were talking about George. I think it was Beck. Was it Beck? Hi, Beck. Thank you for your question. Let's talk about it while we're here. Obviously, we don't know whether Lewis Hamilton has passed a COVID test yet. But obviously he was off last weekend because he had tested positive. He said he's feeling better in an Instagram post or a Twitter post, whichever it was. I can't remember where I saw. He said he's feeling well. He just needs to wait for the test. So we are all waiting with bated breath.
He won't finish isolate until Thursday.
Yeah, so Thursday's the earliest, and then the test come back Friday. So they reckon earliest Thursday night, maybe Saturday, maybe Friday, and then he's got to get a plane to Abu Dhabi.
And there's
also not far, but
there is also the question mark over the governments as well, because the Bahraini government can say, well, no, you still should be under quarantine, and the Abu Dhabi government can say, well, no, you're not coming in here. You haven't fulfilled a quarantine period. So
the biggest issue for Hamilton was that for everyone in Formula One to meet the criteria to get into Abu Dhabi, they had to travel on Monday.
They
had to be there a few days before.
Right.
So he's already, Formula One are going to have to try and get special dispensation already. Plus, I think he needs like 4 negative tests. There's a certain number before he's even entered into it. So there's definitely no guarantee. And at the moment, Formula One have got George Russell and Mercedes for the media requirements prior to the start of the weekend. But then that's just because nobody knows rather than anything else. They've just kept it the same as last weekend. But it'll be very touch and go. Even if Hamilton is fit, there's no guarantee that he'll get in.
No, exactly. And so, the fans want George as well. We did a vote react to judge what everyone thought, and even the Hamilton fans were like, you know what, Hamilton's won. He can't do any more this season. We want to see George back in the seat, and I think it's well deserved. I'm a British driver / team fan, so I support British drivers / team. So Hamilton is one of those. I'm a Hamilton fan, as it were, but I'd much prefer to see George in the seat this weekend, just because I think he deserves it after the performance that Mercedes gave him this weekend. How about you, Spongy? Are you looking forward to the weekend? Do you think George will get the seat, or do you think it'll be?
I hope he does. I really do hope he does. But yeah, I think if Hamilton can, he will, and I think they'll go to the end of the earth to allow him to as well. To be honest with you, he's their kind of poster boy, isn't he? 7-time world champ. He's the world record holder in a lot of, well, I say the world record. He's the record holder. Most records will have his name next to it.
And so also the sponsors, the sponsors will want the big name,
But I'll be honest with you, the sponsors won't be disappointed if George goes back in, because there is such a swell of support for the bloke to go back there.
Yeah.
I commented the other day straight away. I was like, right, 1, this proves that you can follow in a Merc. 2, it proves that Bottas should be doing a lot better. Just get rid of Bottas. I know he's got a contract for next year, but it doesn't. A contract only means that if you want to get rid of somebody, then you've got to pay the contract out. It doesn't mean that you're not legally allowed to pay the contract off.
Yeah,
Ferrari have written the book about that, but yeah, I think
Mercedes done it with Bottas. Remember, to get Bottas to Mercedes, they bought out
the contract to Williams.
So contracts don't mean anything if you've got the money.
No.
I think the biggest disappointment for that race was Bottas. I think Bottas showed that he probably shouldn't be in a Mercedes. You couldn't really. He had the best Formula One driver as his teammate. You couldn't really. You're like, okay, let's see. Now we had a person who was it the he was still asking what all the buttons were, and George Russell in the way to the grid. And at one point he was like, well, when's the overtake button again? And Bottas still got jumped. and he's been in for all season racing that car, and he's been there for 4 years. It was the worst outcome for Bottas because it wasn't like he was beaten by 0.2 of a second, and it was just like he was beaten. As much as the end of the race he ended up ahead.
Yeah,
he was beaten.
Yeah,
quite soundly.
He did say, didn't he? He tried to say, "Oh, I was catching him X, Y, and Z," but yeah, whatever.
No, he got passed by Albon and passed by.
Yeah. Well, he was on the hard old tyres, wasn't he? Because they put the old tyres back on. So yeah,
there was a lot of folk. They were on. There's nothing he did. Crispin Hood has said in the comments that it will cost Mercedes $8 million to get rid of Bottas.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, that's not a lot of money.
No, I mean,
no, it's not. No,
Ferrari did it with Raikkonen, didn't they?
Was it the last year of his contract they did? Wasn't it?
He was the highest paid driver that year, and he didn't even race.
He didn't race. I tell you what I want to see. I want to see Lewis and George in the car in Abu Dhabi, because that would be epic.
I'll take things that probably won't happen for 100. Let's read some of the comments.
Everybody in the chat to start laughing like they did like at me the other day.
Let's go to the comments, because we had a couple of comments actually that are quite interesting. Crispin Hud said, "No offence to Lewis, but if George races in Abu Dhabi, the viewing figures will go through the roof again." And that's absolutely true. Even my wife was excited to watch the Formula One, and she doesn't like Formula One at all. So she was excited to see how George did, the underdog coming from a smaller team. So I agree with you. Yeah, it'll bring in a new audience, people that not maybe even part-time fans or want to come back and see how it goes on.
This is like symptomatic, or what do you call it? Characteristic of certainly the British viewing audience. We love an underdog. Yeah. We absolutely love an underdog. And when something like that happens to George, straight away everybody's like, "Well, you got to give him another chance. You've got to get him back." It's like being left on a cliffhanger on one of your favourite series. You just need to know what happens next. Like, give him the car back. Let him win a race.
I tell you what, the buzz of the race. I said it when we were watching the race on Sunday. It reminded me of when Villeneuve came into Williams in '96, and he was an unknown, and he qualified on pole, and he was leading that race ahead of the number one driver. The same with when Lewis came into McLaren with Alonso. Mm-hmm. There was that buzz about watching the races and having, like you say, that underdog outperforming the number one, and I got that when I was watching that race.
Yeah, no, it was a good feeling. It was really exciting, and I must have shouted at the TV probably about 4 or 5 times every time something bad happened for George. Unfortunately,
I don't think we actually believed that it was George that had the slow puncture.
I was like, no. Do you think he could have lasted if he did just stayed on that?
It was carbon fibre. I think it was the carbon fibre from the Aitken's wing that sliced his tyre.
Oh God! Double whammy from his replacement.
His replacement crashed, which caused him to lose the race.
Yeah, he said, didn't he? He said he didn't want to believe, but he could kind of feel the car was getting more and more oversteery on that last lap.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, I'm trying to not think there's something wrong, but then the guys came on the radio and say he got a slow puncher, and he's like, yeah.
And also, it's far too fast a track. Can you imagine flying down one of those straights at 200 kilometres an hour and your rear tyre delaminates?
Not good. No, not good.
Or going through that turn 7. Tire goes, yeah.
It's just it was not. If it was the last, halfway down the last lap,
do a Hamilton.
Yeah, just keep going.
Yeah,
go. It's a 52-second lap. Get on with it. But no, there was quite a few to go, and it was a shame, but it led to a very different podium. Do you know there's been 13 different drivers on the podium this year?
Woohoo! An interesting statistic, and it shows that we're getting some good racing. And I've been really enjoyed this season. I'm going to be sad to see it go.
5 different race winners as well.
And
Wow.
four different teams winning races as well. So it's like, yes.
So F1 has served us up a good season, I think. You know, I'm very happy with it, and we'll do a full season review at some point on a podcast or vodcast. So by all means,
that's not too bad considering we've got the most dominant car ever.
Yeah,
This is the most dominant car ever in the season. It's been a really good season. So
absolutely.
It kind of begs the question, though, doesn't it? What can Formula One do to give an element of surprise to teams? Can they get to race week and then spin a wheel and say, right, this week we're going to have 2 days, and then like the next time it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to have 3 days this week. Just like throwing a bit of a curveball.
We don't want it to be gimmicky though, do we? You know, so many fans are always like, no, too many gimmicks. We don't want gimmicks. We want, you know, just good hard racing. Basically, I just want the 2022
If it gives us
cars.
good hard racing, then so be it.
Yeah.
So who come into the paddock first on Thursday? Oh yeah, you're on the front row, guys.
That's it.
Yes.
Which one of you ordered the eggs? Right, that was the one that gets you.
Yeah.
It's like the first one through the gates at Silverstone. They're like, right, you're doing the front jack of a Williams this weekend. Well done.
I don't like gimmicks. I do think that the outer track, when you looked at it, you're like, oh, I don't know. But actually, it set up a really interesting race.
It was cool. It was like a
maybe every couple
race.
of years they should alternate it. It's still going to be at Bahrain. They're still going to get to have the race. Maybe every other year. Why don't we do that?
I liked it. I mean, it's cool. It was a really simple track, but it was good.
Would you like to see it back? So maybe they could alternate it every year. Have
every other year or something. You know, the Bahrain are still going to get to have the Grand Prix. They're still going to get to do a race. So what's the problem? I think it would be great. I don't think it will. As long as they don't do that endurance circuit, which they used in 2010, I think, the big long one.
Yeah.
2010, 2011.
Like 12 extra corners or something.
Oh, it went on forever.
It went all the way out and then came all the way back in again and came back to where they went out, as it were, wasn't it? And
yeah.
Very long track.
It was boring.
Yeah, not good.
No.
Should we talk about something else then that happened in the race? Because we've talked about George quite a bit and his unfortunate luck. Obviously, he had a slow puncture and he had that terrible pit stop with the
scramage.
The last lap scrimmage.
The first lap.
Oh, first lap.
First lap. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Sorry, I was speaking to Scots there.
Yeah, I hadn't got a clue what you were talking. I was hitting the translate button on Google. It wasn't quick enough.
Google can't translate Scots.
That ruined all of our predictions, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Verstappen, he was out on turn 4. So yeah.
And funnily enough, it was weird because at first you thought that the three of them got tangled up, and then you realised Verstappen just ran out of road when he tried to avoid it.
He avoided it, but he avoided it too wide and went into the gravel and then
it went to the gravel, and by that point he was done.
He couldn't turn the car anymore. Yeah.
I'm sure Sponge was really upset when he watched that.
I was cheering nearly as much as I did when Lando got his podium.
I saw when I saw the replay, I was just like, "Oh, Max, really?"
Yeah.
When it was live, when it was going live, it was like it just cut away just as I saw Max kind of almost just going straight, and I was like, "Dad, he's gone off, and then they cut to it, and he was in the barrier. I was like,
you saw him going off, and you think, "Oh yeah, they'll probably rejoin." No.
Yeah, brilliant, honestly.
And then he kicked the barrier on his way out as he was walking away.
Yes. And Leclerc, like you said, Leclerc's front left suspension was broken, wasn't it? Yeah, so that's why he didn't rejoin.
And Perez did like a pirouette, and he went obviously to the back of the grid, and he had to pit for new tyres and whatnot, and then he came out at the dead last.
At that point, everybody was going, "There's no chance of him even getting anywhere near the points now," and he went, "No point."
I don't think. I mean, I never thought about Perez after that. You know, as it went on, you're just like, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah, because
how did what?
when he was in third, behind the Mercedes before the safety car, I was like, "Oh yeah, he's still got to stop." And so I thought, yeah, he's in third, but he's going to go back down to 9th or 10th because of the pit stops. And he didn't need to. And
no, because he'd come in from that spin.
So, yeah, but I thought, surely he's got to stop again because it's like lap 1.
But this proves that George shouldn't have come in. That just proves that George shouldn't have come in. Stupid Mercedes.
They did not need to pit.
Just for everybody's
I'm just pissed off for George.
Slap the desk. Yeah, that just hurt everybody's ears.
Do you know, I'm annoyed for George, but I'm so happy for Checo that he did pick up the victory.
Yeah.
It was about time he won, and you know how he's been treated this year by Racing Point.
Was it 190 Grand Prix?
190 Grand Prix to get his first win, and it was a good win.
The thing about Checo's win now is there is no discussion about Albon staying in Formula One with Red Bull.
Yeah.
If they keep him next year, there will be a laughing.
That's the thing, isn't
it? We've got a lot of Thai fans we got a lot of Thai fans on the page that do think otherwise. With the vote we put out the other day is very close. It was like 1,300 to 1,000 votes. Checo to Albon.
You've got to look at it from a pure sporting situation.
Well, look
I've spoken about Albon before, and this reaffirms it. He wasn't even signed to a Formula One team, and then all of a sudden, I can't remember what happened. He was testing for Formula E.
He was going to be a Formula E driver, wasn't he?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, something happened at Toro Rosso, and he got fired in. I don't know if Brendan Hartley got lost doing an endurance race or something. So they fired him into the car. He done okay. Gasly just couldn't cope with the Red Bull. He got fired into Red Bull, done okay. But you cannot mount a challenge for the constructor. You cannot mount a challenge for championships when your driver's sitting as best of the rest behind the Mercedes and your other driver's 15th.
Well, where did he finish in the last race? Where did he finish in?
I think he was sixth.
Sixth, yeah.
Sixth, but he was like Verstappen was out, Leclerc was out. The two Mercedes stumbled. He should have won the race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't anywhere near it. It wasn't close. No. He did nothing. If it wasn't for everybody tripping up and Mercedes forgetting how to do pit stops, he wouldn't. Nobody would have thought about him. He would have struggled to get into the top 10.
Yeah. And then
of course, he passed Bottas and everybody, but still.
Where did he get lapped by Max? Was that the first Bahrain Grand Prix that he got lapped by him, or was that the one before?
So. I remember it. I think was it Bahrain?
But he came on he came on the radio on that race and said we've got nothing. We can't go quick enough. And they were like,
your teammates doing
Max is behind you, and it's not for position.
No, he said it at that race as well that he couldn't go any faster.
Well, I suppose it's the whole they've designed the car around Verstappen, but it just reminds me of like Senna in the Lotus and Nakajima, and Senna just lapping him all the time in the It's just crazy. But then Ricciardo said this race, we shouldn't have let a driver that was last on P1 or pitted on P1 win the race. How did we do that?
No, he shouldn't have.
No.
But just to go back to the first lap incident. Now, I will make sure everyone knows this. I shared in the group chat that I thought it was Perez's fault when he hit Leclerc. Just on the initial, I thought he turned in. However, when you look back on it, Leclerc went for the gap, locked his brake, front right wheel, and then just went into Perez. Didn't give him enough room.
So I called it. I said it was Leclerc. I said, "Oh, Charlie's." Made
yes, I will agree. And Danny had put it in the chat. It was Charles's fault. Stewards have also said it is Charles's fault and given him a 3-place grid penalty for the Abu Dhabi race.
Yeah,
and I would like to just stress as well. I did say at the time, give Max credit. I do give him credit once or twice in a year, maybe at a push.
Backed out.
But yeah, when he was getting squeezed by Perez and Bottas, he did back out and kind of,
Yeah, it was just unfortunate, wasn't it, that when he ran off the track, there was gravel there, and you couldn't come back onto the track for him. So yeah,
unfortunate is probably not the word I'd use, mate.
But also, you got to think, even when he was interviewed afterwards, he wasn't very Maxy or Max Verstappen like. He was just like, it's one of those things, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah,
I just ran at a road.
I didn't hear that interview.
No, yeah, he did. Yeah, he said
he was very kind of. He was disappointed, but he wasn't quite. This is ridiculous. The usual.
No, he was very matter of fact about it, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was just kind of like, it's just I was just there, and there's nowhere for me to go.
The one that I heard at the end of it, they said, and Charles has taken full responsibility, and he was like, yeah, as he should, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one. Right. That was the one in race, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, yeah. it's true. That was the one he said in race.
He's never caused an accident before, though, has he?
Never.
Moving under braking, Oh, I can't stand the bloke.
Let's jump to the comments, because there's been a few comments that people want to get in about obviously the race, and I want to make sure everyone does get a fair share.
Sponge is getting called out for his hatred of Max Verstappen here in the comments.
Let's have a look then. So, Sponge doesn't particularly like Verstappen. You should have mentioned, mate. That's from George Downs. Yeah, absolutely.
George.
As you probably have noticed, he's not the biggest fan of Max.
And Danny's in the group. Danny's in the chat. Hi, Danny. Yeah. Thanks for joining us this evening. Crispin Hudd believes Alex did himself no favours last week. Yeah, we've all discussed that. Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely put every foot wrong, unfortunately, and probably has signed his contract out of the Red Bull. One that I wanted to read as well was George Downs said the only thing that made George losing the win bearable was knowing that Checo was going to win instead. And I mirror that sentiment, as I say. Yeah,
it was fantastic to see Checo win his race. I was really happy, quite emotional to see him on that top step, especially about how poorly he's been treated this year.
I do like George's next comment, though. He says, Sponge doesn't particularly like Verstappen. You should have mentioned, mate.
I've got to say, just brushing off that very quickly, George. Cheers, mate. Joe's just said, careful, Sponge. Yeah, okay. I have got to say, though, I don't know about you guys, but it wasn't just like one emotion when Checo went over that line, because I was gutted that George had he'd missed out on it. I was gutted that McLaren missed out on another podium by like a few seconds, because Carlos was proper catching at the end as well.
Yeah,
he was on proper scenario 7.
And they lost third in the constructors.
Yeah.
By 10 points, a full 10 points.
Yeah, and then obviously you'd got Checo going over the line in first, and you were really chuffed for him. So I was gutted, chuffed, confused, disappointed, all at the same time. I was like, what even is this race anymore?
How do I feel? What are these emotions?
What am I
doing? in shock with how poorly Valtteri performed. And
I was not in shock at that.
And a little bit miffed with Lance's kind of demeanour at the end of the race as well.
Well,
Lance Stroll.
That was in the group chat and our admin chat where they said he looked like a spoiled brat. Now, I will give him his due. He was in front of Perez and he made a mistake, which allowed him to get in front.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. So he thought he could have won the race.
Perez probably wouldn't have got in front of him because he's not going to get permission to go past. Perez would have had to pass him, and they're both in the same car. So
he's gutted that he's lost the race.
He knew that he had a chance to do it, and he made a mistake. So I think he's more disappointed in himself not being able to do it, rather than him being upset at, And
he's probably like, that's the second race in 3 or whatever that I've missed the chance of winning a race.
He's had a really bad run of luck. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's fair. Yeah, I just thought, that they've got a 1-3 and Lance is like really gutted. And I thought, is he gutted because it's not him winning?
They're all very competitive people. So I would be, if I was Lance and I got a podium and I saw some, regardless of who was in front of me, I wouldn't be like, woohoo! I'd be like, but then, that's just, they're built like that though, it would be, and he had the opportunity for him he was in front. And he made the mistake. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't team orders. It was he made the mistake. So I don't like the fact that Ocon got second because I don't like him.
That's all right.
I like him.
He takes off Max. He's fine.
Do you know what? Do you know why I'm looking forward to next year in Renault though? Because he's got Alonso as a teammate, and I'm just waiting for Alonso to destroy him.
Oh, what do his psychological warfare on him and everything?
Oh, Alonso's going to walk in there and own that, man. And then in 2022, Gasly's going to end up in the Renault or the Alpine.
Sorry. Alpine, yeah.
The Alpine.
Yeah.
Alpine. We got to practice that because we don't want to say the wrong thing on a live vodcast in the future.
Oh no! How many times have we said Toro Rosso when it should be Alpha Tauri?
or Force India.
Sorry, Jordan. I mean, Racing Point. Martin Spiker. Whatever they're called now, I can't remember.
Let's go back to the comments anyway. Let's nip back to the comments. Crispin Hudd said that race invoked the full gamut of emotions in many of us. Didn't know where I was at the end. Mirror that sentiment exactly. Thanks for joining us, Leon Salinas. I don't think we've seen you just yet, but you said, did you like the way that Checo won from last position? Yes, we all absolutely loved it. George Downs said that he doesn't like Ocon either, but he has also said...
Oh, good man, Jotty boy. Good man.
He also said Valtteri's performance wasn't a shock. So, yeah, he's had a bad run of luck.
I know. But,
it was so meek. It was so...
I thought he was going to step up this weekend. And I was like, in the chat during the race, I was like, oh, wait, he's going to close in on Russell now. He's going to close in on Russell. He just didn't.
Then you looked up. You said that, and then you looked up, and he was another second behind.
I was like, "What?" The thing that got me though was when George pitted the first time and came out. So he pitted first. He came out and he got his settings wrong. He had sensor issues, didn't he? And everyone's going, "Oh, he's losing loads of time." And he was just carving into Valtteri's lead on the fresh tyres. And it was in the 20s, and Valtteri was out for a couple more laps. And when Valtteri pitted, it was like 16 seconds. It pulled 5-6 seconds on him with all those issues with the sensors and everything.
It was a sensor issue because he came out saying no power. We were like, oh no!
Yeah, no, everyone's like, oh no, but he just and then he came out. Valtteri pitted and he was 8.5 seconds in the lead, and he was only 3, I think, before the pit stop. So yeah, pulled 5.5 seconds on him. It's crazy. It was very impressive.
All them times Valtteri's come out and said I can't overtake, and George is like, "Oh, my point."
Yeah.
But George did have new mediums, wasn't it? Mediums or soft side.
Valtteri had the hard.
So yeah, but
it's not the point. He shouldn't have been allowing that to happen.
No, I thought he'd bossed the race and he didn't. I was very disappointed.
Well, he absolutely should have, because he's the he's the experienced man in the car. Let's talk about something else in the race. Ricciardo, sorry, had a bit of a strategy blunder from the Renault team, which brought him in a lap too late. Do you want to discuss that at all?
They called him in the pits, and he was already past the pit lane. No. And that meant that he ended up sitting in fourth, and his teammate got second, pretty much. Because of the way that the track was, the undercut was the way to go. I think it was the undercut. Yeah, you go in first, and so because of that, you lost. I mean, it's not bad for Renault, fourth and second, but but it's not good when it's not Mercedes that are first and third. So that was a bit of a shame for Ricciardo. But then the Renaults, it was a weird race because, I know a lot of the front runners disappeared, crashed into barriers or drove into barriers in Verstappen's case or whatever else, or Albon still trying to work out how to drive a Formula 1 car. They just appeared at the front. It wasn't like you watched them. They just near the end, last third of the race, you're like, oh, hold on. How is he third?
Yeah,
and then you're trying to work it out, and you're going, no, they don't have another pit stop. That is actually their place.
Yeah, I was the same. It was like there's yellow and pink cars at the front. Oh yeah, they've got to stop. Have they?
No.
What's going on? Yeah, just totally threw me. That did.
How did the rookies do anyway? How did the rookies manage this race? So we had Aitken stepping in for George Russell in the Williams, and we had Fittipaldi stepping in for obviously the injured and sadly burned and last ever race Romain Grosjean at Haas. How did they do? Obviously Aitken caused the second safety car when he ran wide, which caused front wing damage to himself. Do you think that was his inexperience, nerves, maybe? What do you think?
They were fine. They did exactly what they needed to do.
They were solid. They were solid, weren't they? They weren't doing a George Russell, but they were solid. I think the spin was just tyre management.
This is the first time he's sat in the car. You're going to make mistakes, aren't you? Fittipaldi it was an uneventful, quiet race, but in many ways that's all he needed, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, don't crash the car. But let's face it, Aitken and Fittipaldi were driving a Haas and a Williams. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And also, if you remember, Albon binned it at that corner during the last 2 weekends. I think it was the first weekend. But yeah, they did exactly what they needed to do. Aitken was lucky that it was just a front wing that he lost. That was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they did what they needed to do. Jack Aitken is a decent driver, but the problem with him is that he doesn't have he's not been a front runner. He's a decent, dependable driver in the lower formula, but he's not got a Formula 2 championship to fall back on. He's got to kind of watch that. But yeah, they did what they needed to do and just got on.
That's what a lot of the comments are saying as well. Rookies were just there, not embarrassing themselves, but just not setting the world alight. They were just there. J.R. Whitten says they're just there, lol. And pretty much that's mirrored in the comments. So thank you very much for sharing those thoughts with us.
Just while I remember, did anybody have a mini heart attack when you saw the smoke at the same place that Grosjean had his
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. I said I had fluttered at that start when the car, and it went off in the same direction as well, didn't it? And I just went, whoa, and then it was quickly forgotten with the turn 4 crash, but I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Just for a very split second, I thought, oh, not again.
Yeah.
But, it's just Raikkonen being Raikkonen. I don't know what it is about Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo, because he's just turning up. And not
it was Michael Henrik says they were making Kimi look bad a bit. I think he's talking about the rookies. Was that because of the spin at the start, do you think?
I think Raikkonen's done with this season. I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm surprised they kept the same driver lineup for next year. Really surprised. I thought they would have freshened that up,
but then, I would have thought maybe having Raikkonen with Mick Schumacher would have been quite good. But then, you don't know with the Ferrari situation, like what kind of say they have on that. They clearly don't rate Callum Eilert, because he would have been the next person.
Yeah,
Alfa Romeo.
Do you think Giovinazzi's there because of the whole Alfa Romeo Italian branding, Italian driver thing?
I don't know. I think Alfa Romeo and Giovinazzi are a pretty good mix because they're both largely anonymous.
No, let's say, gotta give Giovinazzi his due. He's been the king overtaker on the first lap this year. He's made the most overtakes on any.
Yeah, but that's because he's shocking in qualifying.
Starts right at the back. Yeah,
he can't qualify.
I'm trying to give him something here. Come on.
A haircut. Right.
I thought I said it a few weeks ago, didn't I? I said I would love to have seen Hulk and Schumacher, so two Germans in the Alpha, but it just didn't happen. So
nope.
Gibbs is a no for that.
He's had his chance.
The Hulk's out of there.
Oh, you can do whatever else he wants to do. Someone else. He's had his chance.
Fair.
Well, let's kind of wrap up the race review. We've got in our notes here the commentary from the Sky team in this race. They did a lot. They had a lot of mix-ups with the when they were chatting. Calling the wrong drivers and whatnot. Is it ruining the race for people? Did it ruin the drama? What do you think? Did you notice it?
Yeah, when they called the wrong drivers with the Mercedes, I was like, "What?" Yeah. Oh, thank God, it was Silvertrack.
But no, they done that at first. They thought it was Bottas going in for his the puncture.
Yeah, so I was like, "I'll keep that." And then
it was George's radio that came up. I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Most of us here remember Murray. Murray Walker never got things right, but it was the way that he done it was hilarious. So
he was lovely.
Yeah, he'd make up his own words. He says that car's fine except it's on fire.
Yeah,
Murray, Ebola, Paul.
That car's leading except for the 3 cars that are in front of him.
Yeah, I miss smile communication. What?
But it was endearing when it was Murray Walker. It doesn't seem so endearing when it comes from Croppy and Brundle.
He needs to commentate in one more race. I want him back for one more, even just the start and a couple of laps. Just come in at the British Grand Prix.
Murray. And it's go, it's Silverstone.
Go. I don't know what I'm doing. But I used to watch.
You can just imagine him and Crofty having a battle, can't you? The first three laps of the race are going to be going, and it's go, go, go.
Oh, it's lights out and away we go.
No, it's lights out and away we go. No, it's go, go, go. Yeah, all right then, boys.
So we'll look forward anyway to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix that's coming up this weekend. Obviously, we don't know whether Hamilton's going to be in the race or not. We're going to listen to. We're going to put our ears to the wall to find out, obviously, as soon as we can, if the COVID test does come back clear. But the Abu Dhabi track itself is called the Yas Marina Circuit. It is 5.554 kilometres, which is 21 turns around the track. We've got a race distance of 305.355 kilometres. Can you tell that I'm reading this? The current lap record is 1 minute 39.283 seconds. The first Grand Prix was in 2009, and the tyre compounds that we're having this weekend are the C3, C4, and C5. So, what are your thoughts about the tyres for this weekend? Is that an aggressive tyre, or is that quite a safe tyre?
It's been safe all season.
I have no idea what C3, C4, C5.
No, but you're up the higher end. You're up the hardest.
They're the harder ones, aren't they?
C5's the hardest you can go.
Yeah.
But I mean, you read out the stats for Yas Marina, and it was more exciting than any of the races that Yas Marina have ever been.
But the stadium looks pretty, and the buildings around there look really nice.
It's a cool place. It's a cool place.
It's a track that should have more excitement, but it just doesn't.
No.
I don't know why. You've got long straights. It's a very Tilka track. Straight, very hard braking, hairpins, all that stuff. But nothing happens. Mostly because by the time you get there, everything's tied up. I mean, the only exciting thing we're looking at is the midfield battle, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to really look at. But Yas Marina is a circuit. I think the only time I remember was when Michael Schumacher did he not get a car on top of him when he was driving from?
Yeah, it was Sutil, was it in the?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first. That was the first thing where everyone was going, we need head protection around the cockpits, because he had the front of the underbody, and they're all sharp, pointy bits on the front, and that was right next to his neck, up against him, and he could have taken his head off. But I remember seeing that and going, yeah, that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
And the other things I remember was Alonso got held up by Petrov to lose the championship.
Yeah.
Hamilton did his thing with Rosberg holding him up to try and lose the championship, but it didn't work.
That's right. The team came over the radio and said, right, speed up. And he's like, no, I'm losing the championship, but thanks.
Yeah. I can't remember anything else, really.
No, it's not been the most exciting, which leads me to a question for you all. Should it be the last race of the season? Shouldn't we have a nice swan song? Like we've had a few great Brazilian Grand Prix, for example, for the last race. Do you think it's the wrong track sitting in season finale?
It's a really cool place. It's really extravagant. It's a really nice setting for everyone that goes there.
Yeah.
But like you say, it produces dull races. The one I'm old school, so I think Brazil, Suzuka, Adelaide should be one of those three. Should be the end race, because they just produce brilliant races.
Always Adelaide.
Always Adelaide. Yeah.
We've got a few fans of Adelaide in the.
That was the first time I experienced heartache in Formula One, when Schumacher smacked Hill, break his wheel, and Adelaide.
Yeah. I remember the Mansell puncher. I was only a kid. I do remember that though.
I don't remember the context of that. I've seen the videos of that one.
Yeah. No, I remember that happening.
He knew exactly what Schumacher was doing there. He knew exactly what he did, because he was losing it. His car was slow. Hill went to go in, banged wheels, and the suspension broke. And you're like, oh, you dirty. And Schumacher, the thing about Michael Schumacher with that was he didn't need to do the things he did. Like that like Jerez, where he got chucked out the championship, like parking it. It was at Rascasse in Monaco when he knew that he was going to lose. He parked it. And you could see him drive into the barrier. You're like, Michael, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He didn't even hide. He didn't accidentally miss his braking spot. He just parked it. And you're like, Michael, you're better than this. I don't know. It's just, he was competitive to a fault. But yeah, that was my first time when I watched that and thought, oh, no.
Do you know what? I'm going to segue from your Michael Schumacher into comment that J.R. Witten has put, and we absolutely, definitely need to talk about. How about my boy Mick Schumi, F2 champion? Yeah. Sorry, off subject, but I'm over the moon for him. So, are we happy that Mick Schumacher won the F2? Obviously he's joining the Haas team next year, so we're going to see a lot more of the Schumacher name in Formula One. It's great to see, isn't it?
I'm definitely happy about it. I wasn't too happy with the way it happened at Sakir. It was a bit sort of like anticlimax.
Yeah.
Finishing 18th or whatever. Yeah, he
didn't get any points or something.
No, and then he finished 18th in the last race because he had to pit again, and and nobody else did. And so it kind of reminded me of his dad's championship win where he kind of crawled home in 7th or 8th. For Ferrari at Suzuka. I can't remember which one it was, 2000 maybe. It was a little bit of an anticlimax, but I think it's definitely the right person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It's a shame for Callum. I hope he gets a race next year. Maybe he'll win the F2 next year as well. And
He's not driving an F2 next year. Callum, I don't think.
Where is he next year? Sorry,
he's not got a drive for next year.
Oh, is he not?
Nope.
Oh,
that's the problem.
He's confirmed he's definitely not driving in Formula 2.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Sorry.
He's not got good backing, so he's not got a drive.
So, what about test driver F1 or FE or IndyCar?
He doesn't know. I think he's kind of said he doesn't know what he's going to do.
Okay. That'd be a shame not to see his name somewhere next year.
Yeah.
No doubt maybe the FE will pick him up at some point. There's plenty of seats there.
We're talking about other drivers for next season. Can I just say that someone mentioned, are we excited to see, it was Beck, I think, put on the comments, are we excited to see Alonso back? Or would we rather have had Hulkenberg in the car for next year?
Alonso's got more calibre, I guess, hasn't he? But it's kind of light for light. They're both old F1 drivers. So, has Leon put something about who would you like to see take second? I'm guessing that's the F1 Championship, Valtteri or Max. Is that right?
I don't think they're close, really, are they?
Is it?
I think Valtteri needs like 3 points, I think, to secure second, which is three points more, than Max.
Well, he just about did that in the last race, didn't he?
He was. It was. He hasn't secured it, but I think it's pretty much signed.
It would epitomise the season, though, if Bottas didn't get second, though, would it?
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes will be all out to make sure he gets second, won't they? Because they'll want the first and second.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't.
But if he wins it, and then Verstappen wins the race, and he loses second in the championship, I mean, Toto must be punching a hole through every desk in the office. Why did he sign that contract?
He told me there was nobody else.
It's interesting.
What was in that porridge?
Well, because I said this last week, Valtteri, before he signs his contracts every season, seems to give Lewis a bit of a run for his money, particularly in qualifying. He's never been as good in the races. I mean, Lewis has always, Nico was never as good as Lewis in the races, but they're both giving him a genuine run for his money. And then since Valtteri signed this contract, and I remember this happening in previous seasons, he just goes off the boil. He just doesn't turn up.
Is he really on the boil this season?
Well, even less so. It's almost like he's got his contract and now he doesn't need to worry about performing.
Well, I think Crispin hit the nail on the head in the comments earlier, but it was quite a little lot earlier, so I'm not going to scroll all the way up because I've actually lost my cursor on my laptop for some reason. But he commented and said he's doing the job that's needed. Do the team need do the team need two fighters fighting with each other, or do they need a Lewis Hamilton taking all the major points and then a Bottas kind of being consistently, just scoring the points and being happy being a second driver?
This is the reason why Red Bull can't have Albon in the car next year.
Because he's not doing the same thing, is he?
He's not doing that. He's struggling to get the top 10.
It's a winning formula for Mercedes, and it's something that Red Bull do need to copy.
Crispin's right, but you've got to remember, Hamilton's doing one more contract, probably 2 to 3 years. Hamilton is finishing his Formula One very soon. Bottas is not the leader of Mercedes. We've seen that. George Russell was in a car that didn't fit him. He was wearing a pair of boots that were a size too small for him.
He was covering up the airbox with his helmet.
You know, and he could have won that race and won it easily. It wasn't like he was harried or anything by Bottas. So, you know, Bottas, I think there's a reason, and there's a very good reason why he's only ever been given 12-month contracts. And it's the only thing that I think Mercedes are just like, do you know what? It's fine. Another 12 months with them, not a bother.
If somebody else turns up, we'll have them instead, and I just not had that yet.
We'll just 2022 George Russell, because I think is it 2022 that had George Russell's Williams.
Yeah, he's got 1 year left on Williams. Yeah.
The thing is, surely if you're Mercedes, at the point where he comes on the radio, he's pulling away from Bottas, and then he comes on the radio and says, "So guys, tell me if you need me to push." That's la 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 la.
They're just like, no, you're fine there, George. Don't worry about it.
It's like surely at that point you say,
"This guy's special."
We've made excuses for Valtteri all these years, so what do we do now?
There's so many. There was so many. It was so easy to give an excuse for Bottas because Hamilton was his teammate, and Hamilton would just beat everybody, I would imagine. But you know, when he's George Russell, who, as we said earlier, was asking them where the overtake button was on the steering wheel, was wearing, as I just said, shoes that were too wee for him to fit in the car.
Yeah,
and he was driving a race, and then that overtake,
fast outside, around outside.
He just suckered them in and just owned them. And you're like, Valtteri, you know, if Valtteri was right up the gearbox of Bottas, of George all the way around, and and harried him, and it was a to and fro like the old school kind of battles. So there was every other corner it was in you. You know, you'd be like on yourself. But see the thing that. For me, when I watched it live, and George took the lead, I had no confidence that Bottas would get it back.
No.
And I just didn't. I'm like, that's it.
I thought it would harry him. I didn't think you'd get the lead back. I thought he would push him.
See, I didn't. That's my thing. I just thought, there was no fight. George lost the lead, and that's it.
And George owned him, and he even had better tyre management than Valtteri, and it's the only race he's been in the car.
Anyway, we've talked about George quite a lot. I want to move on to our predictions for the weekend. Sponge looks like he's bored, so let's ask him and put him on the spot first.
I'm not bored. I've got a bad back. I'm all right.
Yeah, you've had your back. But can you give us your top three?
So my top three will be Carlos first.
Do two with Hamilton in the car and Hamilton not in the car.
Okay, right. Hamilton in the car. Hamilton win.
Joe, are you noting all this down, please? Because we'll need evidence.
Yeah, listen to this, Joe. Max second, and I'm gonna go Carlos third. I think he's been really strong the last few weeks, and I think I think he will. He'll pull it out of the bag.
And let's face it, it's Carlos's last race in a decent car for a year. Because the Ferrari's not going to be very good next year. Or it might be. Maybe they'll make a few adjustments. Sorry, JR, I know you're watching and you're probably a bit annoyed at me about making a comment about the poor quality of the Ferrari car. Let us know your predictions in the comments, guys, whoever's watching. Coops, what are your predictions for the top three?
Okay, Hamilton will win if he's in. If not, Russell will win. And then I think it'll be Leclerc will get third. And I'm going to go Norris in second.
Okay. Oh, did you do a prediction for if Hamilton isn't there, Sponge?
Yeah, Russell will win it.
No, Sponge I'm talking about. Sorry, I do apologize.
Yeah, if Hamilton's not there, Russell to win.
And the same second, third?
I reckon Max would still come second, but I reckon it would be quite a good tussle between them two out front.
Right, okay.
And still Carlos third.
Okay, Gary?
Well, it should be the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. So you're going to have to say Hamilton for the win if he does turn up. Mm-hmm. But I want to go with somebody totally different. I'm going to go with Danny Rick for the win.
Wow.
If Hamilton's
I
not
hope chat are laughing. Come on, chat. Come on,
laughing out loud.
bring it on.
No,
What happened in the last race?
Danny's a fan favourite. Danny's a fan favourite.
And then maybe Charles on the podium and Max. I don't know. So Max, Charles, Danny, Rick, and then if not, Hamilton. I'm just going.
I'm sure there was about 15 names there. You can't name the whole grid, Gary. It kind of goes against the grain of predicting.
All right, okay.
I think it'll be one of the 20 drivers.
Hamilton, Danny, Rick, Lando, and then if Hamilton's not there, Danny, Rick, Lando, Charles. There we go.
Cool.
And it's not going to be that at all. But I just wanted it to be something totally different than two
It'd be
Mercedes.
nice.
So,
It'd be nice.
Tell you what though, Michael's just put a good point on there. No faith in a racing point on podium? ?
No, because we're all McLaren fans. We don't want them in the podium.
Do you know what I'm going to say? I actually think Perez will want to go out with a bang. So I think he'll be at least third.
I thought you were going to say his engine will blow up then.
No, you won't. He'll be out in the first corner.
So my prediction, I'll say if George is in the Mercedes, I think George will want to win. So I think he will be first. I think Bottas will be second, and I'm gonna say Checo for third. That's if George Russell's in the car. Then if Hamilton's in the car, I'm gonna say Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen.
See, that's what I would have gone for, but it just sounds so easy.
But I am winning. Well, I know. Do you know what? I'm not winning the fantasy anymore.
What's happening with that? What's happening with that?
I was like 9 points behind the second. I was second to the leader, who was 9 points ahead of me. I was gutted. Do you know why? Because I actually changed my number one driver because I knew Lewis wasn't going to be in this week. I changed it for Max Verstappen, who was.
Oh no!
He didn't even finish.
I've got Perez. I'm sure I've got Perez. I must have done all right last weekend. I've got Perez and Ricardo. I'm sure I have. Yeah,
I think you're about 9th, Gary. From memory, from looking at it, I think you're about 9th in the table. I haven't got it up in front of me, but I do remember seeing your name.
I'm just getting
high shop. But we were obviously giving a T-shirt, an Everything F1 T-shirt to the winner, and for months I've been on the top spot, and I thought, yes, I'm going to save myself 20 quid. But no, it's somebody else is at the lead. I can't think at the moment who it was because I haven't got the list in front of me. I think it looks like Coops is dragging that up from his mobile phone, so we might have
Simon
that in a second.
Whitefoot that's top right now.
Sorry?
Simon Whitefoot and Simon Team 1. He's 2,923. Tiller is second with 2,919.
Oh, so 4 points behind, even closer.
Third place is Golov, 2,911, and then an outsider is Amy Blackford with 2,907. After that, I don't think we're anywhere. There's a couple kind of round about, but you're going to need a lot to get near there. But yeah, that's your top four. So it's all to play for those.
It's all to play for. I need to win that T-shirt. I want to save myself 20 quid.
And whoever wins the T-shirt is going to get it with the brand new logo because none of us have got the new logo, have
That's true. We've all got the old logo, and FOM contacted us and told us to change it, so we had to change our logo. Thanks.
You can't have F1. You can't have F1.
The top three.
We couldn't have F1, yes, we had to have E1.
The top three for the Sakir race is actually 3-4 people that you had somebody called JDWGP with 245 points. These are because it was such a mixed up grid. It's all people that weren't there. I think the best person was I don't know where Rocket Danny's 14th. Tiller, I don't know where you finished because I can't find you.
Well, I would have been terrible because I had Max as my star driver and he didn't do anything. So I obviously had scored really poorly. Gutted anyway. Anyway, that's the fantasy. If you're part of that, good luck. See if you can get that T-shirt.
You came 57th, Tiller.
57th for the weekend. That's good.
96 points.
Oh.
I don't know where I was, but then I don't really want to talk about mine, to be honest. I finished 32nd. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I finished first. You just haven't got me on the list.
Michael Hinrichs has asked, you guys have a fantasy league team? Yeah, we've got the fantasy. It's all part of the fantasy. Obviously, unfortunately, you can't join now because it's the last race of the season. But we will be doing it again next year. So please, by all means, stay on the page. We will get you the details so you can join in and take part next year.
There's plenty of warning for the Fantasy League. It usually opens up a good month or two beforehand. So
yeah, sure. And we'll probably put up a prize for next year as well. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to discuss it between us in the group. Maybe something better than a t-shirt or not. I don't know. We'll work something out. I think we've probably chatted the night away now.
James for a day. If you win the Fantasy League, James will come to your house and cook you dinner. Right?
I thought you were going to say something.
Don't win it, folks. Don't join.
Family friendly.
I think Joe's tagging everyone that was inquiring about Fantasy League, so that's all good. So she's going to give them the links and things.
Well done, Joe, for keeping on with all the chat as well. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, in JR, we did talk about Mazepin. It's at the start, but
so we will be turning this into a podcast for anyone that does want to listen to it. If maybe you missed the start or missed part of the conversation, or maybe you can't reach us on the live vodcast next week or any other of the weeks that we are live. We will be turning all these into podcasts so you can listen on the go. You can find us via your favourite podcasting service. So I think that's probably about it. I think we touched on most things. I do apologise if we did miss some of the things in the comments. Obviously, we do only have a certain amount of time to touch on everything. But thank you for your predictions. We'll note all those down, and if you did well, we'll give you a big smiley happy face in the comments and talk about you next week. But that's everything from myself, from Sponge, and from Coops and Gary. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much for taking part in the live vodcast in your comments. Thank you very much for joining in, and we'll speak to you and see you next week. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Gary, it's your responsibility to click end podcast or end podcast.
It is.
Otherwise, we're just going to be sat here for ages and waving.
Literally, I was going to press the leave button and that wouldn't have been.
No. Yeah.
So, hang on, there we go. End.
Bye, everyone.